G'day guys and welcome back to Mana Down Under. For this video today we're looking at Teysa Karlov. Now, like all commander deck ideas, it's just me talking about the commander, brainstorming, going through cards you might want to know. So Teysa Karlov, or Teysa in general, has always been a huge community favourite. Every iteration she's gained more power in the community, she's stronger, new artwork, people like it, and her character design. She's a strong woman who knows what she wants to get in Magic, and she's going to get through that power. So she's very popular, people love her, and this new one is not a letdown at all. So 4 mana for a 2/4 that has a very unique ability. If a creature dying causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers additional time. So any creature has to die, it doesn't have to be your creature, as long as it triggers a permanent you control, you get to do it additional time. Not a copy, it's just an additional, and creature token to draw of lifelink. So quick notes, her first ability, you want to look for the keywords when or whenever or leaves the battlefield to the graveyard, those kind of wording, which implies death. Her appearance, her design, clearly death triggers, it's black, white, it's what you expect, but the second part is just token plan. So it's quite easy to go, you just go tokens, sacrifice outlets, value, and that's pretty much it, rinse and repeat. So I've included the other tasters for a bit of flavour and a bit of an homage to them. But black-white deck, first thing you'd have Dictator of Erebos and Grave Pact. These are must-have in the deck. With Teysa, you get to activate these at additional time. So if one creature dies with a Grave Pact out, they have to sacrifice 2. The pressure is unreal, and with a good enough setup, no one's allowed any creatures at all on the board. You could run Butcher of Malakir if you want. It's an additional option. I prefer not, because we run tutors that we can tutor for the enchantments, which are cheaper, and plus it doesn't die as easy. Other cards that I must have in the deck, your Blood Artist effects. Now, some people only run 2, I'm going to run all 4 when I build my Teysa deck, for a couple of reasons. The deck is dependent on them, they're used in several combos, and just having 1 or 2 really speeds up the game because Teysa can double up their effect. Even just having 3 would probably be the magic number. But you got Zulaport, you got Blood Artist, you've got Falkenrath Noble, and you've got the new Vindictive Vampire, all great cards included in this deck. Another Wink edition in the deck is Gold, Treasure. So, typical of the Orzhov guild, they love the shiny things like magpies. So, Revel and Riches, whenever a creature opponent control dies, you get a treasure token. Well, Teysa doubles it up, you get 2 treasure tokens, and if you have 10 or more on upkeep, you win the game. Other card from the new Ravnica set, Smothering Tithe. If an opponent draws a card and does not pay 2, you get a treasure token, that's more. And then the Plunderer here, whenever a creature you control dies, you get a treasure token, double it up with Teysa. Quite easy to pull off the treasure win if you want to. You could add more treasure support, but I feel these 3 is just enough for this deck. Helm of the Hosts. Every deck this card goes into is pretty bonkers. Clearly on your commander, multiple copies of Teysa is dumb. Multiple copies of every death trigger gets dumb. But there's even just creatures of great value. Grave Titan is one I can think of off the top of my head, Ashen Rider, things like that. So you've got all these tokens, add a bit of token support so your tokens go really tall. Archangel of Thune. Whenever you gain life, any instance of life gain, you put a 1/1 counter on each creature. Now if all your tokens have lifelink and vigilance, every time they attack and block and deal damage, each creature is its own independent instance of life gain, therefore another trigger. So you can really stack on the counters. Similar idea with Cathars Crusade, every token entering is its own instant, and we'll put a ton of counters on our entire board. Gets out of hand real quick, and while you're at it, instead of making 1/1 spirits or weenie tokens, make 4/4 angel base instead, and then double it up with Anointed Procession. At this point, your tokens are probably the strongest on the board, and good luck to your opponents dealing with it. Alright, so to make these tokens, Pawn of Ulamog, Sifter of Skulls, both create little Eldrazi tokens on death of non-token creatures we control. These things are great in the deck because they give us mana, especially when we produce multiple of them thanks to Teysa or Anointed Procession, and they have self-sacrifice built in. Having that is a huge redundancy plan. If we've lost key pieces to combos, the creature can still kill itself if it needs to. Ogre Slumlord, same idea, but 1/1 Death Touch rats. Then there's Edric Sar, the Master Breeder, one of my favourite card designs in Magic. The idea is if you create too many Thrall tokens, they overthrow them and kill them. So with them, you got to use up the tokens quicker than you're producing them. That's all you have to really be careful of. So have a sacrifice outlet or something on hand. But if you can maintain him and balance it, he's a really good token producer, very consistent throughout the game. Hallowed Spiritkeeper is a lot better later on, where you have a huge fat graveyard full of tons of cards, it dies, pops off, creates a ton of spirit tokens for you to play with. The Angel here, whenever a non-spirit control dies, create a 1/1 spirit token. This is a very abusive mechanic, because if a non-spirit token dies anyway, you're still going to get another token out of it. We do have a combo with it later on too. Gravetine, well, it's a must-have. It's a commander staple, makes tokens, that's all we need. Elenda, she's gone down in favor thanks to Teysa. But whenever a creature we control dies, put a counter on it. When she dies, we get a lot of tokens out of it. And the lifelink is nice, especially when she gets huge. Bitterblossom is expensive, but I love the steady stream of consistent tokens. Like, having those 1/1 flying fairies whenever you need them is really handy. Elspeth, her +1 just to put out 3 tokens whenever we need them is great. Plus the board wipe part can come in handy. And for some reason, if you want to try and use the emblem to win, go for it. Secure the Waste, just I love instant speed. Surprise block, maybe with a Grave Pact effect in deck can be really devastating for your opponent. Wurmcoil Engine, very abusive any deck it can put in. Helm of the Host, for example, your commander makes double tokens on its death. There's a few things you can do with it, and we'll go into it later. So, we've got the tokens, now we need to sacrifice the tokens. These first 2 cards are my favourite. Now, some ways sacrificing are part of the cost, so you don't get to double up the effect because it's not a triggered ability, it's just part of the cost. So the Sadistic Hypnotist, part of the cost, you don't get a double up, but sacrificing 1 creature to make someone discard 2 cards, it's good, it's very good. Again, like with your Grave Pact effect, no one should have creatures. With this guy, no one should have a hand. You're ripping resources away from people. Skullclamp, though, on the other hand, draws you 4 cards with Teysa. The value's pretty good. You're drawing more than a blue player, because you can see there's that keyword, when equipped the creature dies, you get to draw 2. So, other outlets, if you want to go like kind of mana department. High market, Phyrexian Tower in your land slots, you can sacrifice creatures for just mana or life, while Ashnod's Altar gives you generic mana, but it's a huge combo piece and in most decks in Commander at this point, and we'll go into it a little bit later on too. Other outlets, your Fleshbag, your new Playcrafter, your Executioner, staples in black-white death taxes, kind of trading them out decks. Attrition, again, is part of the cost, but Doomblading something for 1 black mana and 1 token is really good. Again, your opponent should not have any creatures at any point. Eily, she's a powerful commander on her own. In the deck, just more support. Gains you life. If you have enough life, you start just exiling permanents. It's wonderful. Yeheni is the same idea. Very strong commander on his own, but in the deck, Yeheni can do the work. The idea being, someone tries to kill tokens, response, sacrifice Yeheni, someone tries to kill Yeheni, sacrifice something, save Yeheni. Unless they have exile removal, Yeheni's going to be a threat, and it's a free sacrifice outlet. The Seer and the Altar of Dementia 2 are free sacrifice outlets, and they just add a little bit of support. Seer lets you scry as much as you need to, really, and Dementia is just another point of pressure for your opponent. They're taking all this damage, fighting all your tokens and you sacrificing, mill them at the same time, just another thing for them to worry about. So, you got your tokens, you've been sacrificing them, now you need a bit of extra value out of them. So you got things like the Familiar and Solemn here, which die, they get you land, life, draw cards, they're pretty good creatures all around. The Grim Horsebacks here, whenever another non-token you control dies, draw a card. Teysa says draw 2. Smothering Abomination has its own sacrifice built in, and whenever you sack a creature, draw a card. With Teysa that can be a bit nuts, you can really speed through it if you need to. The Archons are great. Archon of Justice on death, exile target permanent, double it up thanks to Teysa. Ashnod on entry and death. Again, with Teysa, double up the last part. So really 3 exile removals off Ashnod, and we have a combo with that later on too. Great card with Helm of the Host. Massacre Worm is nuts. -2 the board on entry, but whenever a creature goes to graveyard, the opponent loses 2 life. So you command a 4 life. It's that good. Vindictive Leech is better in a big 4-player game. If you're playing mainly 1 or maybe a 2 opponent game, probably pull it out. So Corpse Augur will draw you a ton of cards, but might drain a ton of life, so be careful with that one. Priest of Forgotten Gods, it is part of the cost, but its mechanic is really good for this deck. Sacking 2 creatures, you make everyone else lose 2 life, sacrifice a creature, you get 2 mana and draw a card. That's a lot for 1 activation. The Evening Star's a bit broken as well, and it has been in several decks. Great with Helm of the Host as well, just saying, that artifact is good. So whenever it dies, each opponent loses 5 life, you gain a total lost. But with the commander, double it up because it's a death trigger, everyone loses 10 life and you gain the life lost. You can really start rip through people. I love Puppeteer Click. Comes into play, you steal a creature from their graveyard to end a turn, you sacrifice that creature, then you sacrifice the Puppeteer Click, his persist triggers, he comes back, steals another creature, you sacrifice that creature and you sacrifice a click again. There's 4 sack outlets out of the 1 dude, and hopefully a few enter the battlefield triggers. Now, you've had your tokens, you've sacrificed them, you've had some value along the way. Let's repeat it with the return mechanics. The God of Passage is getting expensive, $20 now, but still pretty good. Whenever anything dies, they got to pay 3 life or goes back to your hand. Even for tokens, tokens can't go back to your hand, but be annoying and ask anyway. Nim Death Mantle, 4 mana to bring anything back on its death. Pretty busted and is a combo later on. Phyrexian here, it's great. Don't worry about the life part. 2 mana to bring back any creature card is perfectly fine for most people in Commander. Corpse Dance, keep bringing back the latest creature from your graveyard if you can afford the buyback. Never lose a spell, keep it going. Delos Reborn is great. It does everything the deck wants to do. It makes people sacrifice, discard, and then you get to resurrect anything you need. Revel can be broken in this deck because you resurrect 2 creatures with power 2 or less. When it dies, Teysa says resurrect 4. Reassembling Skeleton, I love him in the deck. He's a constant pain for your opponent. Unless they exile him, he's always a non-token sacrifice that you might need. Because a lot of these abilities care about non-tokens dying as well though. And Health Caretaker, very powerful 1 for 1. 1 in the graveyard, 1 out of the graveyard. With great flavor text. Only downside is he's a 1/1 with no protection. He might die pretty easy. More of a once-off return spells. Don't return, you do get 2 out of it. But that flashback is wonderful. People kind of forget about it. It's in the graveyard and then bang, there it is. Corpse Dance again, like I mentioned. Victimize, sacking 1 creature for 2 back. It's such a good trade-off. I love Thrilling Encore. The idea being you've had like your Grave Pact set up, maybe a few flashbag effects, and everyone's lost a lot of things, yourself included. Throw that off at the end of turn, you resurrect everything that died, even your opponent's stuff, it's all yours now, and you'll build an instant board presence. That's my reasoning for it anyway. So tutors help the deck a lot, keep it very consistent. Academy Rector is good, very good, but very expensive. It's $60, it's reserve list, so I don't blame ya. But on its death, you can go and get yourself a Grave Pact or a Dictator of Erebos. Yeah, it's good. Other tutors to look for, Enlightened Tutor gets Artifact or Enchantments, which are combo parts that we might need. And then you've got Demotic Tutor and Diabolic Intent. Both of these are great tutors to look for. Now we'll go into the combos very quickly. This Angel, whenever a non-spirit you control dies, you get a 1/1 spirit token. Divine Visitation, trades it up to a 4/4 Angel token, changes the card type altogether. So when that Angel dies, you get another spirit because it is a non-spirit now. So the idea is we throw in a sacrifice outlet and a Bloodlust effect in there of some variety, you win the game. So you sacrifice, something dies, you get a spirit token, which turns into Angel, sack it, deal a damage, then becomes another spirit tokens, which then becomes an Angel, sacrifice it, and you just keep looping it. Now Nim Death Mantle and Ashnod's Altar, these have been done before on Commander. You pair them with creatures that put out a lot of tokens on entry so you can keep sacrificing everything, resurrecting it, get the tokens back, and with a Bloodlust effect, you'll win the game on the spot. Good cards, Gravetine or the Autocrat will put out enough tokens for you to pay the cost again. Now, not so much of a broken loop, but a semi-loop, very powerful. Ashen Rider and Wurmcoil work great here. With Ashen Rider with your commander, you get to exile something on entry, death, and then double up again for death. With this combo, pay the 4 mana, rinse and repeat. Every time you pay the 4 mana, you're exiling 3 permanents. Ooh, feels good. Wurmcoil, you just simply putting out a ton of tokens because whenever it dies, you get those 2/3/3 tokens. Your commander makes additional ones, and you can really start to stack up a very scary worm army. Alright, like always, there's plenty of cards I haven't mentioned, but this deck is so versatile. You could just run any of your favorite death trigger cards and you should be good. It should be golden. Only things to mention, make sure you got your good removal. Black-white has some of the best in the game. You have a lot of your target permanent removal, very strong. Get yourself that greedy land base that Black likes to do now and then, like we double up your lands. Yeah, get that going with like Cabal lands and the Tomb of Yawgmoth. And don't forget your big depth, the debt list. I love putting off a big fat one, or maybe Hellfire, depends how you're feeling. And your board wipes, of course. You got your new board wipe, Kai's Wrath, which gains your life too. And I like to put a good old counter spell in there in black, Withering Boon, really trips people out. Teysa is great. She's very powerful, very unique mechanic on her. Never seen that before. She'll be the staple black-white commander for years to come at this point. She might become #1 black-white commander pretty quickly, I think. Yeah, let me know your thoughts, guys. Any cards you want to recommend? How would you like to build the deck? I've gone pretty generic here, just, tokens, sack outlets, return, value, just a repeating cycle. but I know some people are building hardcore combo decks with her, looping, whatever they can do. So let me know your thoughts on how you're building her, and have a good one. See yas! Thanks for watching, guys. Please remember to like and sub and click the bell icon for notifications, it's greatly appreciated. And if you have any deck or video ideas, just suggest them down below, and have a good one, guys.